Hi everyone, welcome back to Real Builds, The Awakening, and we're on segment 4 now. Just a reminder of where we're at. We've cleaned everything up, made it nice and pretty, changed our battery cable ends, cleaned everything up, got rid of all the corrosion, cleaned up the mess, and we've installed the fuel pump. We've installed the hoses. We've thought through how we're going to do it so everything's going in a way that's safe and easy to service. So now it's time to get the wiring and the relay in place so we can make this little dog run. Okay, we need to start with an unboxing. We've got everything clean and neat, ready to install the wiring and switching for the fuel pump, and we've got to do this right, so let's look at what we need in terms of parts. So I live rurally, and it's not exactly sports car country, or for that matter high performance country, so getting a relay kit was a bit of a challenge. Now here's a hot tip: if you go into the parts store and ask them for a fuel pump relay kit or a accessory relay kit and they give you a strange look, just ask for a driving light installation kit with a relay. Inexpensive, was under 20 bucks, and it's got everything you need in it, plus a few that you won't. So let's take a look at what's in the kit. So the important stuff. This one comes with a 40 amp relay, so it's way more than enough to run the fuel pump. As a matter of fact, we'll be putting an inline fuse in. It comes with all the connection screws and accessories, a switch that we won't be using, so we'll set it aside. Plus it comes with a nice set of pre-crimped connections and wires to make it all work. In addition, I purchased an extra one because I want to have a fuse in the line that actuates the relay and a line in to the actual run to the pump. Okay, again, safety first. Electricity is a wonderful thing. If you get a short, you want to make sure that the fuse is going to pop it at the lowest intelligent level so you don't get any damage. Now, also in the kit, you get a wonderful set of instructions. With lots of warnings and lectures. Most importantly, wiring diagram. Now before you start, read this stuff through. It's really important. You want to hook it up correctly the first time. You don't want any blowouts. You don't want any electrical problems. Along that same vein, we also picked up, because I was out of them, a kit with all of the ends that a guy could possibly need probably for the next 2 years. Because I hate wiring and I don't like dealing with it, I'm really big on being super safe. So we've got all the pieces, everything's in place. Now let's look at what it takes to install it. Okay, the first thing we're going to install is the relay itself. Triumph was nice enough to leave us this bolt here that apparently has no effective use. So we're going to install right over top of that once we make sure we got everything off it that could be a pain in the butt. And we're going to install the relay itself. Now on the bottom of the relay, if you look closely, you'll see there are a number, 4 prongs, and each prong has a number on it. Now those numbers correlate to what it's going to do for you when you get it in. So for the initial install, we're going to put it in place, but we're going to put it in place upside down so that we can wire this properly before we start connecting it. So, slip her on, make sure it's secure. Now we'll tighten her up. And we'll move on to the next step. Now we've left enough room on this that this is not only going to be the position for holding the relay, but it's also going to end up being our ground for some of the lines. So there's going to be a second washer, a connection, and a nylock nut go over top of this one to keep things secure once we have everything wired and ready to go. So with that said, we're going to finish tightening this up in a position where we can see it. I'm not going to do it super tight, just enough to hold it into place so we can start working on the wiring. And we'll be right back. Okay, so now we're going to go to the next step. Now I have the wiring diagram with me. I clipped it out so I can keep a tight eye on it. And we're going to use the connections supplied. We're going to follow them onto the relay, and then we'll start worrying about the other end. So when we look at the wiring diagram, the yellow ground, this one, goes off number 86. Oh, need my flashlight. Really wish my eyes were 20 years younger, but they're not. That's number 86 right here. And we're going to mark that one with a piece of tape and a pen. As a ground, so we don't get any confusion going on. Like I said, I don't like wiring, so I'm super careful with it. You can do anything, even stuff you're not comfortable with, as long as you follow really good directions and you're very careful about what you do. Takes longer, but I'm a big believer in safety first. Now, the next one will be a blue wire that'll supply power to the pump. And this one is calling for, oh, excuse me, wrong wire. It'll be the green wire that's supplying power to the pump. Now in this case we're going to make a deviation, and we're going to go with this one, which has a fuse in it. Again, I like to be ultra cautious. And it goes to number 87, which is right here. And we're going to mark it with a piece of tape that it goes to the fuel pump, power to the fuel pump. Now the reason we're making a deviation is, of course, this is a driving light kit, not a pump kit, so, and we do want to have that ever important fuse in the link. Pump, power. Now we're just going to tuck him right over there. And we have him out of the way. Now, we need power for switching, and that needs to come from number 85, which is the green wire. Number 85. It's right there. Now, don't take the numbers we're using verbatim. Every kit will have its own directions. The important part is to follow the kit. And this feeds power to the relay. So we're going to mark it as power to the relay. and we'll be adding a fuse to that. Next, we have number 30, which is a black with a fuse in it that goes to the battery, and it's the ground to the battery. On number 30. So we have everything in place from the relay side now to hook up and start chasing power and make sure we're hooking everything up. So I need to get the battery temporarily installed, and we'll be right back after that's done. Okay, we have our wires in place. There is no power going to the relay. Do not put power to the relay. And we want our electric fuel pump to work when we turn the ignition on. So what we need to do is check here on the ignition on the coil where power should be coming in to figure out which one is the hot wire. To do that, we use a test light, proper test light. We ground the test light, turn the ignition on, and then start checking for power. Okay, and as you can see my light come on, we've got power there going into the coil. We've got nothing there, and there's the power supply going in. So that's going to be our hot lead to trigger the relay. Okay, we've got her all buttoned up and cleaned up now. You'll notice we've tagged pieces on here saying what the wires are for. Everything's hooked up, everything's working. We'll throw the key on in a sec so you can hear the pump. And we are hooked to switched power. Now, we had to make a change along the way. We had planned on taking our switched power from the coil. Unfortunately, the power of the coil is 6 volts, so we ended up having to run through and past into the cockpit and tying into the radio power, which is switched off the key, because you need switched power, big time. Let's talk about layout and safety. Main power that goes to the pump is on a 15 amp fuse there and a 10 amp fuse here, double safety. The switched power is on a 10 amp fuse. So we've double checked, made sure that even in the event of a problem, it's not going to cause any damage, and that's a big deal. You do your electrical wrong, something goes wrong, you can end up with a disaster really quickly. Now, last on the list for this particular project, before we throw the key and let you hear it, this installation works anywhere you need to put in an electric fuel pump. Okay? You need to go through a relay. You need to have switched power. You need to make the connections and then protect them. Notice they're all wrapped so that there's not a problem. Wires are shortened up. It's neat. It's clean. It's all set up for success. Grounds are easy to access. Hoses are run so that they're not causing us problems, that we can get at the various hose clamps. Those are the things that are important. And along the way, we did all the cleanup. We've cleaned up this stuff, replaced battery cables. We've made it look good and as close to something that came from the factory as possible. At this point, I'm just going to flip it on so you can hear things kick in and run the way they're supposed to. That's our fuel pump running off the relay, and it keeps the loads down. We can see as everything pressures up, there's no leaks, no runs, no errors. Everything's tight before we ever go to start it. And we're not going to start it tonight. I don't want to drag it outside. And I want to get into fixing the brakes before we go there. Nothing like having a running engine tempting you to drive when we don't know what's wrong with the brakes yet. So for the moment, that's real builds and the TR7 Awakening on installing the fuel pump, doing it neatly, cleanly, and nicely. Now, as we go forward, we're going to get the brakes sorted out, interior sorted out, and a couple other things. Then we're going to go out and have some fun for the summer. So, till the next episode, we'll see you then. Okay, I lied a little bit. Here's the sneak peek. I couldn't resist and I hit the key and she barked straight to life. So there's the effects of our work today. And you'll be seeing more in the near future as we go through the brakes and the other components, clean the engine bay, and get the body looking good. Talk to you soon.